Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Makers in Minnesota podcast. I'm Stephanie Hansen, and this is the podcast where we talk to cool people doing cool things in the state of Minnesota. And today I'm with Lee Egbert, and he is with Dashfire. We used to say Dashfire Bitters. Now do we say Dashfire Cocktails, Bitters, and Cocktail Room? Lee, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, we've kind of changed a lot. We've always been, yeah, Dashfire, but of course, yeah, everybody's known us as Dashfire Bitters for so long that it's kind of weird now. But yeah, we're just kind of been quietly sitting in the shadows, and now we're not going to do that anymore. So.
So let us talk about that because you started with bitters and then you went into canned cocktails and then you did some collaborations and now you're literally opening your own distillery. So please tell me from the beginning and why it took so long because I'm so excited for you.
Well, we kind of we did it differently than most folks. Definitely everybody's kind of, had a very different approach. We bootstrapped this business from day one. Starting out in commercial kitchen, Gia Kitchen. Shout out to all my Gia food
Yep.
folks out there. Yep. And so we did that. We've been in St. Paul and in Minnetonka, very quiet, boring cinder block buildings, very closed to the public, production wise. Dashfire has been a distillery for maybe 6 years now. We did that because we're actually one of the only bitters manufacturers that has bitters that's both non-potable and potable, which is a little bit getting into the weeds with like bitters, but basically that means each state has kind of different liquor laws. So like New York, you know how you can't sell food in liquor stores in Minnesota?
Yep.
They're even stricter in New York. And so Angostura bitters is even considered a food item there. So if you have potable bitters, then you could be sold into the New York market, and there's other markets like that. So we've been, and it's also the right way to kind of start your business with bitters. So that's how we were doing it, and so we've been, even when we were making bitters before we got into the ready to drink cocktails. Obviously, we've made a lot of cocktails in our lifetime. So
A
now,
few.
a few, yeah. So once we did that obviously everybody got that right away and supported us right away. All of the great stores that carry us now, and everybody just keeps buying, those old fashions and white Russians. And so it's so great. We've had such great support from Minnesota, and even Minnetonka, we were kind of ramping up, even quietly kind of making things in the background. More for experimental reasons, more for fun. We don't have that stress as much, that a lot of folks that are just get started. But we don't have big investors. This is all of us growing over the years to the point to where we are now. So we had 2 canning lines. Now we're getting a new, bigger, badder canning line that comes in next month. So that's even bigger than what we were doing. So yeah, we'll have a lot of good capabilities here, but of course, the most exciting part is the cocktail room and what we're going to be able to do there.
So let us talk about that. So a couple things. One, okay, I got to go in linear order here. So you're now getting to the point of a cocktail room and you're in Northeast Minneapolis. And
Yeah.
why did you pick the location that you did? And what are you near?
So we're in the Thorpe building right behind Tattersall. In fact, we have kind of the lion's share of the square footage now because we had a need to grow our production space. So we were finally big enough, and to be honest, we were actually going to go to, a suburb boring cinder block again and grow that way. And then, of course, knowing Dan and John at Tattersall, and we looked at this space a while ago and it wasn't quite right for us. And then I just decided one day, as like, because we're a husband-wife business, my wife and I, Don and I, so I said, you know what, hun, what do you think about us doing a cocktail room? Is it time? And she's like, sure. So, so I was like, all right, cool. And then literally within weeks later, we already had really strong talks with the Tattersall folks. So we're subleasing here, but then we even have a longer term lease. So we're here for a long time. We're going to be producing here, all the stuff that we have done before, plus obviously a bunch of new stuff. And even like with the cocktail room, it has the name Elusive, partially because it's kind of deep in the building. so it'll be, we'll appreciate the guests that do make their way back here. But we've always been so strongly minded about botanicals and our love for botanicals and traveling the world and all of that. So this was really also kind of our way of showing what we could do there. And so this is Elusive Botanical Bar by Dashfire is kind of the full mouth version of what this is.
Will it be, I know it's a separate business than Tattersall, but you guys are close to each other. And are you in some ways competitive, or will you still kind of work together in terms of you providing them anything, or are you completely separate?
Oh yeah, we want to that having them next door is going to allow us to do, some cool collaborations. We're definitely, we're it's nice because bitters has always been something, we're complementary to everybody's brand. We're one of the few Minnesota producers, and so it's just, we like Vikra buys so much of our bitters, and we're just so thankful for their support. And it's just so great when we can kind of work together. So, but still, kind of in talks with what we would do collaboration wise, but we see it complementary for sure. And they see it the same way. It's kind of like the Distillers Row out in Portland, and it's just like this 12 distilleries or whatever, and you can just go from one to the next. That's exactly what you get here. You get the same building. You're not paying a separate Uber ride to go from one to the next, and it'll be a really good night. And we'll also be, doing exciting things that we think are very unique and different from the way, folks have done it. A lot of people say that, but ours is so based on the botanicals itself specifically. We even have a on-staff botanist, a good friend of mine, long friend, Patrick Vaughn. He's our botanist, and he's a certified mushroom forager and all of that. So, and he knows a lot of the local forager harvesters in the state. And so, just tying into that and creating this really beautiful schedule based on what is harvestable. We just went out last week or the week before and foraged a bunch of wormwood for later on. It's not even stuff that will be used in the cocktail room day one, but it was ready to grab. So we grabbed as much as we could and dried it out and got it ready so that it'd be ready for production and preserved. And so that was really it's really great that we can do that. And because we have so many, my daughter and I, when we go for walks in the woods, we're always identifying things and finding, wild ginger and prickly ash and all that stuff. And so, for me, even just like, a walk in the woods is for me so much more enjoyable when I can share with like my daughter and go, oh, this is that. And so all around you, you're not only just seeing the beautiful trees and foliage and all that stuff, but you're actually seeing, oh, this is something I could take home and make a soup with it, or, things like that. So I just feel like the world is like almost a bigger place, or maybe a more micro place. I don't know which way to put it, but it's just a really fun way to see it. And so it's just kind of expanding that kind of lifestyle to the cocktail room.
What do you do with wormwood? Isn't that like what Vincent van Gogh was drinking or
Oh,
getting
right.
poisoned by? And when he was drinking, what was it,
Absinthe.
absinthe?
Yeah, that was well, what's great, we have great absinthe drinker history in Minnesota with, F. Scott Fitzgerald and all of that creativity that came out of that. Yeah, it was actually the short version of maybe a long story is uh France at the time, way back when, had a big famine on grapes. So they still wanted a drink. So they switched over to this new absinthe thing that people were drinking, and pastisses and stuff like that. And so they switched over to that, and everybody fell in love with it. It's super strong and all this stuff. And then after the wine and the grape started coming back again, then the wine industry realized they had a problem on their hands. They had a competitor now they didn't have before. and it was cutting into their profits. So they created kind of a farce of a story about how this was hallucinogenic and all this stuff. So actually, for a long time, scientists have known that this is not the problem. In fact, the fact that it's just really high proof alcohol is really, truly the reason why you get so messed up with absinthe. But of course, if you use it right, in a cocktail
Sure.
or serve it correctly, it's a beautiful spirit. But yeah, that's one. There's of course, vermouth type things. There's even, of course, we've got our good friends down in Chicago that have their hometown spirit. That's mostly, Malort's made with with that. So to be honest, we kind of don't know for sure. It might even be like a kind of its own spirit that just
Yep.
really sings on wormwood specifically and plays with that, the bitterness of it. It might kind of become one of the other ones. But yeah, we'll kind of, and that's the nice thing about having an existing distillery that already has products, and like our bitters and our cocktails do really well. So, because we're in, quite a few states and we're in a couple countries now. So we kind of have that as a backbone for a business. So everything we make for the cocktail room can be super unique, and we don't even have to worry about it hitting retail store shelves. So even a lot of the stuff we're distilling, like right now as we speak for the cocktail room, is very small run, and we're really testing out like different yeast strains. We're testing out maybe doubling up on yeast strains on certain things to get different aromatic and flavor qualities out of it. We'll make all kinds of things, both botanical and traditional spirits and all that stuff. So but we don't have that rush to have as much there. So there'll be some really fun ones. We're going to have a kind of a predominant botanical that is kind of guiding the way for the menu. Aromatically, you'll smell that botanical when you come in the room as well. So we'll be lighting a little bit of it before you come in. But one of the predominant botanical for this opening is going to be sage.
Right.
And then we have that. So it's such a beautiful one. It also, doesn't hurt to do a little smudging, when you
Oh,
have an
yes.
opening.
Yes. Can I ask you,
So,
you brought up your daughter, and one of the things that I noticed as someone who's friendly with you was during the pandemic, you guys traveled a lot with your daughter and you went to Florida, I
mm.
believe, and you're very close to her. How was it that you, like during the pandemic, what did you do? Did you work remote and take off?
Oh yeah. So I mean, we have a really good team. So our kind of standard production, we did switch to sanitizer for a little bit. So that didn't need me as much. Plus, I'm kind of our only sales guy. So I'm product development and I do all the graphic design. So my website, all the labels, all that stuff is me. I'm just now starting to kind of hand some of that off. And so I have a good friend doing the elusive branding. And yeah, so I'm 80% of my time while we were over in Minnetonka was really mostly kind of from home, like talking to other states and other countries, and sampling out and doing those sales calls from my basement and a lot of that stuff. So that's why we were able to go remote for that. And Don kind of acting CFO, we can manage the budgets from a distance and stuff. So yeah, we were lucky to be able to do that. And locked in with our pod family, and and yeah, we did. We went as many places as we could. We knew it was an opportune time to, school is so limiting, and have so limited time when your kids are out of school, that we're
Yep.
just like, we're never going to have this chance again. So we kind of had to take it.
So where did you guys go and what did you do on your travels?
Yeah, we went around. We spent a lot of time in Florida because it's just cost effective. Obviously you're paying for your house here, and now you have a
Yes.
whole nother. It sounds crazy and totally way first world problem, but no, we had a good time. We went down to Orlando just because it was central and was cheaper, so that we could do other things. But then yeah, we went all over the state and kept busy. We also had to manage the kids in terms of school and all that stuff, but it was nice. We were able to take turns and kind of go around. But as because you follow up the crazy stuff we do on, we that first Easter, Ellie and I, we still we're very social. So having that connection with our friends and family, like we did, I don't know, did you ever see the gummy bear video that we did?
No.
Oh, it's so hilarious. We had like a dance break in the middle and all this stuff. So we basically made these gummy bears kits for all of her friends, and we dropped them off in Easter baskets. And then we showed them. We created a video to show them how to make these gummy bears, and so it was just really fun and lighthearted. And it's so funny to go back and watch her now because she's so much older now from that.
Yeah.
But those are the kinds of things we like to do. We did that crazy covidipillar. We made a gigantic cardboard excavator so we could hand out popcorn balls for
I
Halloween
saw
and stay
that.
safe. So pretty epic. I think it's a world record. I'm hoping that we can get that accomplished at some point. It's a bucket list item for the two of us, is to do a world record at some point
Well,
together.
there's a guy in town. Have you ever met Mike Marcotte?
Yeah, Jeff was just telling me about him, and he was
Yeah,
like,
so
the guy is over.
he's in
Yeah.
town. He's the officiator guy. So your
Yeah.
dream could be closer than you think.
Right. We do have some really fun ideas. We'll keep you posted when those come alive, but we have
Okay,
one potentially at the distillery that we're thinking about doing. So
fun.
it'll be pretty
So
epic.
one of the things that you were involved in, I can't stop thinking about it because I love it so much. And it
Hmm.
was the Tiger
Oh,
bottled
Secret Taker. Yeah.
collaboration with Rob Jones from Meteor Bar. Will that drink formulation make an appearance anywhere again?
Oh, well, that's kind of, I mean, it's very much their cocktail. And that's what we were trying to do too. The pandemic was, not only how do we stay afloat, but how do we make sure that our favorites stay afloat? And they're definitely one of them. So we wanted to work with them, and that was really great because just they're such good friends, and just wanted to see them succeed. So yeah, that was really cool. And of course, now they're part of this project. So I don't think the Secret Tiger necessarily per se will make its way here, but you will see Secret Tiger again, more retail side,
Okay. Because I'd
more
love
more
to,
of that.
yeah, I'd love to buy it. And I've just been like, oh, I can't wait to get a bottle of that again. It was so good.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, no, and it everybody supported that retail wise, was like just so great. And then and it was like consumers really swooped on it too. So it disappeared really quick. It was very, very industry specific, and but everybody realized how good it was, and those are, yeah, really, really killer. So yeah, yeah. No, there'll be more of that. And that's the other thing we'll be able to do here in this cocktail room is this is two big things that we're built on bitters and botanicals. That's where our foundation lies. But the whole Dashfire's tagline is "Find Your Fire," because we're really passionate about people finding what their passion is, and our passion about things. I was lucky enough to have Kieran mentor me early on, and he was like, "You really need your mission," and so I was like, "All right," and I found it with the Find Your Fire, but with the cocktail room, it's kind of got its own mission. And so that is be a part of the experiment, because what we're doing here is going to be so experimental. We'll have guinea pig cocktails on the menu. We'll have maybe three of the same cocktail, but micro adjustments, and getting feedback from the customers, and all of that, kind of a laboratory, very scientific approach. And then the kinds of things we'll be able to make because of that will just be fantastic. So with Rob and Tyler helping there, and then of course Jeff Rogers, like three of my favorite people, and longtime friends. We'll be able to do some really, really neat things. Plus, then get feedback ahead of time, and even the spirits we make for the cocktail room, a lot of them we're going to probably start with just 5 gallon batches, and then once the bartenders use them and tell us kind of, all right, what's their feedback now on it, we'll make adjustments even more on those spirits. So it might take 2 years for us to ever launch that spirit retail wise. And some of the spirits will probably never even hit store shelves because they're so esoteric that, it just would be too hard to educate. But in the cocktail room, you have a safe place to try those things, and you have a guide to help you through it, so it's a lot more fun in that way.
You're such a, and I say this with love, but you're like the mad scientist of botanicals. And, you're just doing things that I feel like are so far ahead of other folks in your industry, but also like you exude this extreme passion for this that
Mm.
really comes through in your products. And I feel like the distillery is, or excuse me, the cocktail room is really like coming full circle for you. Do you feel like that?
Yeah, for sure. This is the piece of the puzzle that was missing kind of for a while. I've been wanting a cocktail room for a decade, you know. So so all of these pent up ideas, and you know, I have all these big ideas, and my eyes pop out of my head because I'm so excited about them, and so now we're really going to be able to do them. And that's one thing I was Jeff and I were saying, you know, we're just like, you know, we've been on road trips and taught classes together and stuff like that, and just and he's such a nice guy, and we've just talked about crazy things for the longest time, you know. And then we were like, well, do you know what, we could actually do those crazy things now. And you know, and so it's just so fun that it's like that we can now execute on them. But then it even within our distillery, it's really kind of, we're creating a new language that we're to talk to each other about what we want out of things, and we're not always making spirits that make sense. Like we'll actually be combining sometimes like a base spirit and a modifier spirit to really dial in what we want taste wise. So that of course doesn't make sense on the shelf because, you know,
Right.
people, it's compartmentalized and siloed, and you that education would be too difficult, you know. So but for us here, that allows us to, like, we talk about grams per liter of sugar in it, like we quantify all these separate things and talk about what's important to them, the bartenders. And then that's how we're kind of defining these spirits. And I think it's going to take us a couple of years even to figure out exactly how we completely talk to each other, because we're making really cool spirits based on botanicals, but then they're also coming from the other side and saying this is something I really need, and kind of building it from components. So we're kind of coming from both directions, and we're
Explain to
both
the,
making cool stuff.
yeah, explain to the listener who Jeff is because they may not know.
Oh sure, yeah, Jeff Rogers. Oh my gosh, yeah, he's man, he has a storied past, and it's great because he's actually slightly older than me. So just enough so I could say he's older. He's like the oldest one around here. But so he's been, you know, way back in the day, you know, Fridays, like massive, you know, flair bartender competitor, all that stuff, just such a fun backstory. And then, you know, he'll hear this and he'll like shoot me because I'll get his history completely wrong here. But obviously he's been so many places, like with Town Talk, and you know, through, and most recently with, you know, Jester Concepts, and running the entire bar program there, and managing those multiple locations, and Parlor, and Constantine, and PS Steak, and so many great,
Some of
you
the
know,
best bars
bartenders.
in town. Yeah.
Yep, and some of the best bartenders, you know. I mean, he's just worked with so many of the greats, and so and he himself is one of the greats. And the old bartender book, I still remember to this day. Like when Dashfire first started, I dropped off a sample, and but I of course got the Johnny Michaels book, you know, the North Star
Yep.
Bartenders Guild book, and of course he's in there, you know, all of those old folks. And it's so fun because it's like those are some of the people that I'm still doing projects with today, you know.
Yeah.
And it's just, and they're still there, and it's really cool to see that. In fact, when I met Rob Jones for the first time, he told me the very first person I have to meet after him was Jeff Rogers. And so I
Oh, that's
literally
funny.
walked straight down to Parlor and talked to Jeff. And so he's just, you know, and he's such a nice guy. You know, I really like working with nice people. You know, I get that with Tyler and Rob and Jeff. You know, they just, that who I like to work with, even people who are going to have, because we'll have a little bit of food and things like that. Like we'll have some of Ashley's Sweet Science ice cream, and I love her. You know, she's
She's
mad,
amazing.
mad respect business wise for her and what she's done for that. And so it's just so cool now that I just get to keep starting incorporating all of these friends into
Bringing
this
them
now.
along. Yeah.
And I'm, you know, I had a, you know, a lot of disappointment as a kid. So I don't like to make promises I can't make. And so bringing on my friends is a big scary thing too, because you know, you run that risk of overstretching or whatnot. And, but now the time is right. Like our botanist, Patrick, and, you know, so it's really kind of fun to bring these people in, incorporate them. Even like the person that's been doing some of my graphic work is an old friend, you know, that I trust with my brand to
Yeah.
hand it over because it's so precious to me and I'm so picky about it, So
When does the cocktail room open?
we're looking sometime in December.
Okay.
It really is very dependent on the city. We
Sure.
were hoping for sooner, but realistically, it has to go through committee,
Yes.
and those kinds of things. So that's kind of been the biggest holdup. But we'll be ready by then. But we're actually hoping to and I'll talk to you guys a little bit more about this. But we're one of the things about people being part of the experiment is also the education we're going to be offering here and the classes we're going to be offering on the regular. That's another thing that Jeff and I have done together. We did this really fun class that was Elton Brown style, where we did the science of mixology
Sure.
and had all this. We had such a fun time, and the people in the class just had a blast. In fact, one of them ended up being one of our minor investors, because they just
Classes
loved what
are
we were doing
really
so much.
popular. Yeah. Particularly since COVID, people want to get together and have
Yeah.
experiences again.
And ours are going to be very leveled up. So they're not just going to be, because we'll have our botanists involved in these classes. Not only that, but we're going to get into the production side of things. So we'll share that with you guys very soon. We're hoping to kind of
Great.
iron out some details and maybe get some prototype classes running, here soon. Maybe you can be involved in.
I
And
love it.
but
I'd be happy to come.
yeah,
All
it'll be
right.
fun because that'll really show people kind of what we do, and then that also honors the mission of being a part of the experiment, you
Right.
know, and you can
All
really
right.
get in upstream. So yeah.
It is Lee Egbert with Dashfire Bitters, and the cocktail room is Elusive.
Yeah.
It's in the Thorpe building. It's going to be opening soon. So, can people follow you on Instagram? Is that the best place?
Yeah. And yeah, Instagram's the happiest social media place. Just that's all I really
Sure
care
is.
about personally.
Yeah,
And but yeah, everybody should buy our 3-pack old fashioned for the holidays. It's a gift pack, 3 different old
it's
fashions.
amazing.
Buy that to help support us before we get open,
Yep,
and then buy our
I love it.
bitters. And so,
Okay,
yeah,
it's great to catch up, and congratulations. I'm sure I'll see you soon.
yeah, we'll see you soon. Thanks.
All right, thanks. Bye.
Yeah, bye.